We're going to go ahead and go over the test. Remember, you're only doing the questions that you missed. If you got it right, just go ahead and skip over it. So we're going to start here. Number 1. They asked, what is the most likely reason the population is declining? Well, let me think. What does declining mean? It's going to decrease. So when I read, I need to see what's going to cause them to decrease. The photograph shows monarch butterflies landing on plants where there are thousands of other monarch butterflies. These butterflies feed, so they feed on milkweed plants as they travel south for the winter. So they're going to migrate, covering distances of 5,000 kilometers or more each year. However, the population of these butterflies has steadily declined over the last 20 years. So they tell me 2 things. They feed on milkweed plants and they migrate south for the winter. So A, the number of bird species evolving to prey on butterflies has increased. They didn't say anything about any birds. These butterflies are evolving to tolerate cold weather in the northern United States and southern Canada. Well, if they could tolerate it, that's good. That's not going to cause them to decline. The increase in yearly temperature has warmed in the northern habitats. If it's warming, again, that's good for them. They want warm. That's why they migrate. The number of milkweed plants along the butterfly's route has decreased. Decreased food is a decrease in population. So our answer should have been D. Number 2. If the global climate change leads to the elimination of snow, so no snow, in the habitat of the white-tailed bird, which adaptation is most likely to occur over generations? Okay. The white-tailed bird live at high elevations on mountains that receive much snow in the winter. During the winter, the bird's feathers are molted brown. In the summer, the birds lose the brown feathers and grow a set of white feathers during the winter. So white is winter. Scientists are concerned that rising global temperatures will affect it. So if there's no more snow, I'm not going to turn white in the winter anymore, because white is to camouflage. I spell camouflage. I think that's how you spell it. Birds with white feathers in areas without snow will be easier for predators to find. That's true. Over time, this could lead to white-tailed that have brown feathers throughout the year. Okay. Birds with brown feathers in areas without snow will be easier for predators to find. If they're brown without snow, they won't be easier. Birds with white feathers will be easier to see on the ground in the summer. Over time, this could lead to white birds that have white feathers throughout the years. If it's white and easier, they're not going to be throughout the year. Birds with brown feathers will be easier to see on the ground in the winter. So brown feathers, easier to see in the winter. They won't be easier because there's no snow. So our answer should have been F. Which characteristics of the Daphnia allows the population to adapt to environmental change? So then I have to read if it's going to change. The organism in the photo is Daphnia or water flea. Daphnia are hardy aquatic organisms that live in most freshwater habitats. Adults range from less than 1 to 5 milliliters in length. They are good swimmers and eat mostly algae. Daphnia become mature at 5 to 10 days. An adult female can produce 100 eggs every 3 to 4 days during its 2-month lifespan. When harmful algae rapidly increase in the Daphnia's environment, Daphnia can develop adaptations to tolerate the negative effects of the algae within 10 years. So it's something that's going to take time. It's not going to happen over one generation. So if they have, and it's, so if they're adapting within 10 years, that's time. So I have to see, well, what else is going to take time? It's small size. It's short generation time. It's freshwater. Freshwater has nothing to do with it. Herbivorous diet, if anything, that's going to hurt them because it's the algae that's being... It's the algae that's being affected, so anything that would hurt. But freshwater, where they live, that's where they live. But a short generation allows them to have to adapt over 10 years. So how does this chemical help black walnut trees compete with plants? So I have to see about this chemical. Black walnut trees produce a non-toxic chemical that is highly toxic when exposed to air or soil. So by attracting herbivores, it says air, soil. By suppressing the growth of other plants, by increasing the photosynthesis. Well, let me think. Photosynthesis. Keep up with your attendance, and you can put those in later. Needs water, light, carbon dioxide. So let's talk while I have the intercom, and I'll give that back to Ms. Air. Air is the carbon dioxide. The soil, the water is in the soil. So is photosynthesis affected? Yes. If it's affected, am I going to increase? No, because it's toxic. It's bad. By limiting the amount of water available to other plants. So let me see. Is it going to suppress or is it going to limit the amount of water? Did it say anything about it taking the water? No. All it's doing is the water now becomes toxic. So I should be suppressing. Less photosynthesis. If photosynthesis decrease, the growth of plants decrease. So I should have had G. Number 5. Which map predicts the likely movement of land along the fault over thousands of years? If there's a fault, I should be thinking that it is a transform boundary. So these two should be off. They're not transforming. Now these two are transforming, so I'm going to have to keep reading. Is it going to give me a mountain or is it going to give me movement? It should not be mountain because that is convergent. We should have had movement. That's what causes earthquakes. Number 6. The change to the rabbit population will likely occur first. So the key word was first. When I read, a species of rabbit lives in the hill country near Austin, Texas. Austin has plenty of shrubs for the rabbit to eat. So that's what it eats. And no natural predators of the rabbit live near the area. Some rabbits have dark fur and some have light fur. The rabbits with dark fur tend to be much larger and faster. So dark fur, larger and faster than the rabbits with light fur. However, the researchers have found that in the last 25 years, the rabbits with light fur have increased. Usually speed and size help rabbits survive and breed. Researchers introduced a new rabbit predator to control the population. So the population to control is the goal. But the goal doesn't happen right away. Something's going to happen first in order to reach the goal. There has to be change in order to reach this goal. So a decrease in the population of rabbits with dark fur. We'll have to see. If the light fur increase, there's more light fur rabbits. So if there's more light fur rabbits, I'm not going to decrease with dark fur because they don't have as many. There's not as many for the predator to eat. A decrease in the population of rabbits with light fur. Maybe an increase in the population with light fur. They can't increase because this is a predator. A predator eats the prey, which is the rabbits in general. A constant population of both rabbits with light and dark fur. Now this would happen if they asked for the goal. This is the last thing that should happen, not the first. The first thing that's going to happen is, in order to have it constant, I have to make them constant first. So if this is too many, the first thing they're going to do is decrease in order to reach this one. So we should have had G. Number 7. Which of the following answer choices represents a producer-consumer relationship? I should know a producer is a plant. Lion, the lion eats the buffalo. Animal, tapeworm. Animal, digestive of humans. Nutrients, no plants. A cattle, something, egret, I know what it means. A cattle egret follows a cattle around and eats insects disturbed by cattle as they eat grass. Grass is a plant, but let's check. A green anole and a brown anole, which is a fancy word for a deer, use the same resources to survive in a vacant yard near a pond. The only one that has a plant is 3. Which of the following choices represents a parasitic relationship? Parasite, host. The parasite is bad. The only thing that's bad is the tapeworm when he consumes the nutrients that are not available, so that they are not available to the human, which hurts the human. Now the state of Texas took this one off, so if you didn't get this one, don't worry too much. Why Aldine tested it, I'm not sure, but we're gonna go ahead and go over it just in case. Number 9 is something we've seen before. The best describes the motions of the Pacific and Nazca Plate. Why, look, there's a mid-ocean ridge. Mid-ocean is divergent, so I should be dividing. I look, this is west, this is east. Pacific west, Nazca east. We should have C. A graph. Which graph shows a situation in which the number of predators in a population depends on the number of prey? I should know that with prey, and you guys know this because you've told me in class, when prey increases, predators increase. When prey decreases, predators decrease. They're dependent upon their prey. That's where they get their energy. I don't know what type of graph this is. I've never seen this. Nobody should have picked this. So when I look, if this increases, this is constant. It shouldn't be constant. This is constant. It shouldn't be constant. Increase, increase. Decrease, decrease. We should have J. Now this one went in, it showed a satellite view. You didn't read the satellite view. You really needed to know 7th grade, watersheds, succession, which we had started talking about, but hopefully you could have talked yourself through this one. But which statement best, so be careful, the most likely effect of the fire had on the river? Less sediment flowed into the river because the fire heated the soil and made it better. Let me think. If there's fire, fire burns things, turns into ashes. That's going to be more sediment. The amount of vegetation increased and less sediment flowed into the river. First of all, let's stop there. Does fire increase vegetation? No, especially not 12 months after. More sediment flowed into the river because the fire destroyed most of the vegetation. Does fire destroy vegetation? Yes, which holds the sediments in place. Plants reduce erosion. That's a 7th grade thing. But even if you didn't know that, you should know that fire destroys vegetation. It destroys the plants. More sediment flowed into the river because the fire disrupted animal habitats and caused animals to leave. Is this true? Does fire disrupt animal habitats? Yes. Does it cause animals to leave? Yes. Are animals going to affect the sediment? No, this is not a cause and effect. We should have had C. Number 12. So this one, it says point S. This should have been S. Which of these is the closest to the difference in elevation? Difference means to subtract between the locations. I should have S and Z. So I know S is 1,600. It's on this same line. This doesn't have a number, so let me look. The interval is 50, so 2,000 plus 50 2,050. Subtract the two numbers. Minus 1,600. 0, 5, 10, 1, 450. Number 13. Green crabs which organisms is most likely affected by this parasite? Now they gave you a fancy word like parasite. Let me look what they tell me. Green crabs carry a parasitic worm. So the green crabs have a parasite. So I'm going to circle the green crabs. Well, if they have the parasite, who's going to be affected by it? Let me think. They have to be the ones that eat the green crabs. Who do the green crabs give his energy to? I follow the arrow. It should be the gulls. Number 14. Which of these human activities would most likely cause the excessive growth of phytoplankton in the world's ocean? Phytoplankton, photo, is a type of plant. So I have to see what's going to cause plants to grow. The use of chemical fertilizers. Do fertilizers help plants grow? I think so. The logging of old growth forests which cause erosion. Erosion would be dirt. Dirt blocks the sun, so this would decrease the growth of plants. The spraying of chemical herbicides that reduce carbon dioxide in the air. No, just no. The mining of fossil fuel, just no. Fossil fuels, digging underground tunnels. We're looking at phytoplankton, which is in the ocean. The chemical herbicides, that's going to be more on the land, in the air, not the water. So we should have had F. Fertilizers cause plants to grow. Now this one I'm not going to spend too much time on either because we did this in the rotation. And it shows because when we scanned it, about 80-90% of you got this question right. So, but based on information, which bird will compete with the great blue heron for the same hunting spots and similar prey? We should have had the great egret. So if I look at the great blue heron, he stands still in the water. Let me look at the great egret, stands still in the water. What do they eat? And they pretty much have the same. They eat insects, amphibians, fish. So they're very similar. Not exactly, but similar. So we should have had C. 16. Which of this piece of evidence does not support continental drift? We should have fossils, puzzle, like fit, glacial deposits, and what was the last? Oh, the mountain ranges / rock. Fossils, the continents fit, rock, mountains that form from transformed boundaries. Now, had they said same mountains, that would have been correct. But the mountains that form from transform have nothing to do with the continental drift. Number 17. Which of these organisms have 3 carnivores, predators, and a consumer-producer relationship with at least one organism? Now, the easiest thing to start is with this one because I know the producer is a plant. So I'm going to start with the plants. So it has to be number 2, 5, this is 5 again, or 7. 3 doesn't have a producer-consumer. 4 does not have a producer-consumer. So I should be between 5 and 7, 2 and 7. Well, these two are the same, so I'm not even going to look at these because this one has to be correct. Or, if you didn't know what they mean by 3 carnivores, predators, you should be looking at 7 because 7 has to be correct because we've already eliminated these 2. So let me look at 7. 3 carnivores, predators. 1, 2, 3. So they're giving away their energy to 3 other predators. So let's look at 2. 1, 2, 3. Let's check 5. 1, 2. So it has to be D. And this is where the colored pencils would come in handy. 18. Which is the best prediction, how it would change after 100 years with no human intervention. So I have to read to see what the humans are doing. The image above is showing the mouth of the Mississippi River Delta opening into the Gulf of Mexico. The delta requires regular maintenance to push away sediment, which is carried from the river into the ocean, that allows ships to travel in and out of the river. So if I stop pushing away sediment, sediment builds up. And ships can't travel. Ocean currents will do the same as barges to remove sediment. It won't do the same, because if they did the same, humans wouldn't do it. Wave action would deposit sediments and form sandbars off the coast. They didn't say anything about sandbars. Sediment carried from upstream down the river would fill the delta, it builds up, and block the mouth, which would cause the ships not to travel. Storms offshore, didn't say anything about storms, and no. But even if it did, let's just keep going. The delta to larger, it can't get larger because it's building up. It's going to get smaller. So our answer should have been H. 19. Which student correctly identified why earthquakes form in California? We should know earthquakes are transform. Converging mountains. Earthquake is good. Subduction zones form volcanoes. Hotspot is a volcano. Oh, the fault at a transform boundary. We should have had 4. Which of these describes the mourning dove when it is part of the food web? So let me see. They lay eggs in abandoned robin nest. Didn't say any, that doesn't show me on the food web. It has to be part of the food web. Now feeding is good. They feed on fruit from maples and seeds from the grasses, and they regurgitate food to feed their young. That has nothing to do with this food web. So I'm looking for food, fruit, maple, seeds, and grass. Let me see. All they have are maple trees. Parasite host, no. It is a predator prey. You can't prey on plants. It is a producer. Producer is a plant. With the sugar maple, that sounds good. Producer consumer is good. With its young. Young is a bird, not a plant. So that's not producer consumer. So it should have been H. This one we've also seen, so I'm not going to spend too much time. If the place continued to move, which crustal feature would form? It's there. 2 continents is going to give you folded mountains. It can't be volcanic because there's not subduction. Which land feature would most likely form at the marked A? So I look at A, I have continental oceanic. I know continental oceanic give me volcanoes. Well, if this is continental, this can't be an island. I can't have folded mountains because I have the ocean. So is it going to be a fault line or a trench? Well, what do I know? Fault lines are from transform. That's where the earthquakes happen. The trench occurs during subduction. And there is subduction because the subduction is what gives me the volcano. So I should have had H. 23. Which point on the map is a mid-ocean ridge? If it's in the mid-ocean ridge, it should be on the ocean. So let me see. A, oh, that's land. C, that's continental. D is on the land. B is in the ocean. Which conclusion can be drawn from the topographic map below? Briar Creek will erode more soil. Well, let me think. This only goes up to 50. I'm sorry, 40. This one goes up to 50. This has less soil. A climber would find Sandstone Mountain harder. So let me see, where are the lines closer? This one's going to be steep. This one would be gradual. So sandstone would not be harder because it's gradual. Sandstone Mountain is steeper No, because it's gradual. A rock climber would find Emerald Mountain more challenging to climb. Yes, because Emerald is steep. Scientists discovered rocks collected from the Texas. We've seen this one. They were the same age and the same geologically, which means it had to have been plate tectonics. We've also seen this one. Difference in elevation. Difference is to subtract x and y. X is 1,600. I just follow the line. Y, I have to use the contour interval, which is 20. So 1,200, 1,220, 1,240. Subtract the 2. 0, 10, 5. So you should have had 360.00. Be careful when you bubble this in, because some of you, when I was looking at your paper, it was 0.360, which is wrong. Make sure it says 360.00. 27. Which organism in the food web compete for the same food source? So I have to see what they eat. Grasshoppers eat grass. They get their energy from the grass. Snakes get their energy from grasshoppers, so no. Let's look at the hawks. Hawks get the energy from frogs and snakes. Frogs get the energy from grasshoppers, so no. Let's see, frogs get their energy from grasshoppers. Snakes get their energy from also grasshoppers. Nobody's gonna compete. Grasses can't compete with decomposers because they use photosynthesis. They don't. So we should have had C. Which classmate was correct? So let me see. Frank and Alyssa presented their science project to their class. Their goal was to use different types of data to explain the processes of seafloor spreading and plate tectonics. Their data consisted of sediment thickness and age of the ocean floor. One of their classmates suggested they should also include the temperature of the crust. Have we ever talked about any temperature of the crust? No, because it's irrelevant. So we should have crossed off these yeses. No, because the crust temperatures does not change under the ocean floor. No, because the temperature changes of the crust are not used as evidence of plate tectonics. Now, have we talked about this? No. Have we talked about plate tectonics? Yes. Did we include temperature in it? No. I would go with what you know. G. 29. Again, this is 7th grade. This is watersheds. How are the contaminants most likely carried? Carried means it has to move into the ocean floor. So I should know it's not deposition because deposition drops. It can't be weathering because weathering breaks. These two we did go over. So I have to look. Is it going to be runoff from the water or the dumping? We shouldn't pick dumping. Dumping is a human activity. And it says it's raw sewage, animal waste, and stormwater contaminants. If it's stormwater, the stormwater is going to be carried by runoff. Run means it's going to move. And number 30, which human activity would not help the coral reef health? So warmer water temperatures brought on by climate changes stresses coral reefs. They are very sensitive to temperature variations. Tiny plant cells within the coral die if temperatures remain high for weeks. So that high temperatures causes decrease in the coral, causing coral bleaching. The health of the coral then declines. So which one's not going to help? So I'm looking for something that's going to increase the temperature. Increase global warming. Warming is an increase in temperature by fossil fuel, so maybe. Refrain from stepping. Did they say anything about stepping? No. Excuse me. Deposit artificial reefs on the ocean floor. If I'm depositing them, that has nothing to do with temperature. Avoid releasing sewage in the watershed. nothing to do with temperature. Our answer should have been F. Go ahead and count up how many you missed, and then go ahead and go back to the grade in Google Drive. Thank you.